The evening air was thick with tension as the town of Hollowbrook gathered around the old church. A cold breeze rustled through the trees, carrying an eerie silence that had settled over the small, tightly knit community. It was supposed to be a solemn day, a day of farewell. But no one expected what would happen next. A black hearse pulled up to the church doors, and the funeral director, Mr. Holloway, stepped out with a serious expression. The coffin was a thing of beauty, polished mahogany with silver handles, yet something about it seemed off. The air around it felt heavy, almost suffocating. The town's most beloved priest, Father Elijah, had passed suddenly. No one saw it coming. He had been healthy, strong, and full of life just a week ago. The cause of death? A heart attack, they said. But whispers spread in the corners of the town, suspicions growing with each passing day. Something didn't feel right. As the pallbearers lifted the coffin, a piercing bark shattered the silence. Everyone turned. There, at the edge of the crowd, was Duke, the priest's loyal German shepherd. His fur stood on end, his ears pinned back, teeth bared as he let out a deep, guttural growl. He had never acted this way before. "Duke! Stop that," called Mrs. Holloway, the funeral director's wife. But the dog wouldn't budge. Instead, he lunged forward, claws scraping against the marble steps of the church, his eyes locked onto the coffin. The crowd gasped as Duke began to bark wildly, his entire body trembling. The pallbearers hesitated. Something about the dog's behavior sent a chill down their spines. Then, as if possessed by a force beyond his control, Duke jumped at the coffin, his nails raking against the wood. "Get that dog away from there," someone shouted. But then, thump. The coffin moved. A stunned silence fell over the crowd. Then, thump. Thump. The sound of something, or someone, inside. The funeral director's face turned pale. It must be settling," he stammered. But no one was convinced. Duke let out another feral growl, his eyes burning with an emotion too intense to be just grief. It was as if he knew something no one else did. Reluctantly, the pallbearers carried the coffin inside the church. The heavy wooden doors shut behind them. The ceremony had to continue. But outside, Duke continued to bark, scratching at the doors. He wouldn't stop. Inside the church, the organ played its slow, mournful tune. Mourners filled the pews, murmuring among themselves. The air smelled of candle wax and aged wood, but something else lingered, something metallic. Father Elijah's closest friend, Deacon Thomas, stood at the front, preparing to deliver the eulogy. His hands trembled. He wiped sweat from his brow, glancing at the coffin as if afraid to look at it too long. Then, bang! A loud crash echoed through the church. The organist's hands slipped, hitting an off-key note. The chandelier above trembled. Duke's barking outside grew more frantic. Then, bang! 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 The sound was coming from inside the coffin. People gasped, some stepping back. The funeral director rushed forward. "There must be a mistake, this can't." But before he could finish, the lid of the coffin slid open. A woman screamed. Inside was not the peaceful body of Father Elijah. Inside was something that sent the entire church into chaos. A second corpse. Wrapped in black cloth, its skeletal hands curled inward as if it had been clawing at the inside of the coffin for centuries. Deacon Thomas stumbled backward, his eyes wide with horror. What is this?" The air grew thick, suffocating. A strange whisper filled the room, but no one could understand it. Mrs. Holloway, shaking, leaned in closer. That's not Father Elijah." But the worst part? Father Elijah's body was nowhere to be found. The coffin had been sealed shut. There was no sign of forced entry. No way someone could have opened it. Yet, he was gone. And something, or someone, had taken his place. Duke's barks outside turned into howls. Then, as if responding to him, the lights flickered. The candles blew out. The air turned ice-cold. And then, the whispering grew louder. It wasn't just one voice. It was many. Coming from inside the coffin. The congregation fled, shoving past each other in a frenzy. Chairs toppled over. People screamed. The funeral director, trembling, reached into the coffin and pulled at the cloth covering the second body. The moment he did, a hand shot up. The body moved. And then, the thing inside the coffin sat up. Its eyes, dark, sunken pits, locked onto him. And it spoke. "You buried the wrong one." The funeral director screamed. But before anyone could react, the church doors burst open. Duke charged inside, teeth bared. And at that moment, the thing inside the coffin lunged. What happened next will shock you. But before we reveal the chilling truth behind this horrifying mystery, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. Trust me, you're going to want to hear what happens next. Because what they discovered beneath the church floor was even worse. And once they saw it, no one in Hollowbrook was ever the same again.